subjects the candidate's work to evaluation at the highest level, ensuring that the recipient of a Curtin University doctoral degree has demonstrated the ability to carry out successful research of international standing. Chancellor, I present the following graduates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Kauthar Suleiman Ahmed Al-Busaidi. Her thesis is titled The Prevalence of Urinary Incontinence Among Women in Oman, and supervised with Dr. Kathy Brisson. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Suad Eid Farhan Al-Ansi, and her thesis is titled Identification of Developmental Coordination Disorder in Primary School Age QA Children, and was supervised by Professor Jan Peek and Lynn Jenkins. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Gwendolyn Patricia Brooks. Her thesis is titled The Multi-Layered Effects and Support Received by Victims of the Bali Bombings, a cross-cultural case study in Indonesia and Australia, and was supervised by Associate Professor Jaya Ernest. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Sophie Josephine Coleman. Her thesis is titled Effectiveness of Self-Management Programs for People with Osteoarthritis of the Knee, was supervised by Associate Professor Kathy Brisson. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Elsamaul Suleiman Ahmed El-Kabir. His thesis is titled Calcium Antagonist-Induced Lower Urinary Tract Symptoms, and was supervised by Professor Jeff Hughes. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Neha Surashchandra Gandhi. Her thesis is titled Molecular Modelling of the Interactions of Complex Carbohydrates with Proteins, and was supervised by Associate Professor Ricardo Montero. This thesis also received a commendation from the Chancellor. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Bryony Rose Moore. Her thesis is titled Pharmacodynamic Studies of Anti-Malarial Drugs in a Murine Malaria Model, was supervised by Associate Professor Kevin Batty and Jeff Jago. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Benjamin Henry Mullet. His thesis is titled Analysis of Candidate Genes within the 3p14 to p22 region of the human genome for association with bone mineral density phenotypes, and was supervised by Dr. Cyril Mamot. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Anu Nana. His thesis is titled Health Insurance in Developing Countries, Willingness to Pay for Health Insurance in Thailand using Discrete Choice Experiment Methods, and was supervised by Associate Professor Sandra Hopkins. Chancellor, I present to you Diane Lorraine Sy. Her thesis is titled What Makes Therapy Work? An exploratory study of the understandings of expert psychotherapeutic practitioners, and was supervised by Associate Professor Brian Bishop. Chancellor, I present to you Dr. Greer Susan Bradbury. Her thesis is titled Children and the Fly-In, Fly-Out Lifestyle, Employment-Related Paternal Absence and the Implications for Children, and was supervised by Professor Jan Peek. Chancellor, That concludes the presentation of doctoral degrees for this ceremony, and I now invite Associate Professor Sue Jones to present our other graduates.